So a few words about the significance of satsang and the significance of our life. This human experiment has a higher purpose. This human phenomena is not strictly about the senses. It's not strictly about what you experience. Rather, it is about the experiencer of experiences. It is not about delving deeper into thought. It's not about the accumulation of experiences or seeking some worldly gains. Rather, it is about awakening to our true nature, awakening to the self, awakening from the illusion, from the impression to be immortal body-mind. We have all inherited a belief structure, and this belief structure inhabits our body, inhabits our feeling state, inhabits all our experience. This inheritance is a virus. It's the virus of separation. The belief that consciousness is personal and separate. That I am this body that I experience. That I am this object, this form, these thoughts, this phenomena that I experience. And that therefore, I am subject to the phenomenal events that affect the body-mind. The belief that I am a man, a woman, that I am born, that I exist in time and space, pervades our entire experience. Because of this belief, we actually experience an external world. Because of this belief, we experience a separate self. Because of this belief, we experience a sense of lack, a sense of insufficiency, a sense of incompleteness, a sense of meaninglessness. And these experiences that we have, these experiences of separation, of isolation, of aloneness, are unhappy. They fly in the face of our true nature, which is pure, causeless happiness, pure bliss, pure freedom. And since our experience is so full of unhappiness, we cannot stay with that. We are like a bull that's caught in a corral, needs to get out. We need to find our freedom. We need to find the happiness that we know is there. So we look and we search in everything that we do, in relationships, in work, in our relationship with the family, with partners, in our travels, in our habits. We are always seeking happiness. We are looking for happiness. But because we are looking for happiness, we are energized. We're experiencing this contracted state that is looking, searching for the happiness that is our true nature, what we are. And as long as we have not relaxed into our true nature, that sense of angst, that seeking, that sense of lack continues. So here you are invited. It's an invitation to simply be, which you already are. You don't have to do anything to be. You have to cease being something. Cease being something else than this pure being. Relax into being. Relax in and as the formless, the transparent, the borderless, aware, awake presence. You are this presence, this effortless presence. You cannot deny beingness, but you cannot recognize beingness when you are busy trying to be something or someone. The recognition of beingness requires your relaxing your addiction to be someone, relaxing your addiction to experiences, relaxing your argumentation with pure being. The sky, the wide open sky, is unaffected by the weather, is unaffected by the clouds, is unaffected by the bird that flies through the space. It is unconcerned about the shape of the clouds, their color, their density. Recognize yourself as that awareness, that screen of being, this pure, complete absence, fearless, fearless absence. This human experiment is for you. It is designed for you. All what you need, everything you need, is available to you exactly as it is needed for you to awaken to your true nature. There are no mistakes, no errors. Simply cease to argue and battle. There is a certain quality of thinking that is always thinking about later, me later, tomorrow, or me in the past. That's a trickster. This is a trickster type of thought, because it creates an illusion of some later point in time or some past point in time, while your experience is that of pure being, eternal being. There is no happiness tomorrow. There is no revelation tomorrow. It is right here, right now. Your awakening, your understanding that there is nothing separate. There is reality to consciousness, awareness. You don't need to think about it. It's directly known. Awareness is directly known by itself. I am awareness. I, this aware presence. It is this aware presence that is aware of itself being aware and is aware of this perception. Awareness is, it is aware of whatever arises on the screen, and it is aware that it is aware. Meaning I am aware that I am aware. You don't need to think about it. You know it directly. Yes, I am aware of being aware. I am aware that I am aware. Awareness is self-aware, self-knowing. And this awareness that is self-knowing is what we refer to as I. I am this awareness. I am awareness, aware of being aware. I awareness. Awareness has no beginning and no ending, has no age, no gender. And whatever I awareness I'm aware of, such as this perception, the perception that I'm aware of, where is it? It's not out there somewhere. It is right here intimately. It's intimate with awareness. The object of awareness and awareness are intimate. They are at zero distance of each other. What you know and the knowingness that knows what you know is one. What is known and the knowingness are intimate. There isn't an object out there somewhere that someday you will know. Knowingness is immediate. And I, awareness, am this knowingness. And all the objects that I know are intimate with I. They are made out of myself. Like in your night dreams, all the dream events that you perceive are intimate with you, the dreamer. They are made out of you, the dreamer. They are not apart from you, the dreamer. They arise out of you and they dissolve in you. As long as the sense of separation remains in your life, the wheel of samsara will keep spinning and spinning. You do not need to maintain this illusion any longer. You can come to the truth as you are that. You are the truth that you seek. Not you as a man or a woman. Before the man, before the woman, before the name, before the word, I am. So welcome to satsang. So I don't continue to speak so much longer. I welcome whatever questions you may have that pertain to you. Whatever interests you. Hello, Ananda. Ananda, you're right. Francis says, that's Francis Lucille. Francis Lucille says that when experts have a dialogue, it is often like two deaf people trying to have a conversation. I recognize Francis there. This is how much of social interaction appears to me. What is so nice about satsang is that there is actual communication. I don't mean to sound plaintive, but this kind of real communication seems to be missing most of the time in social situations and even close relationships. This may be one reason why I so like playing music with other folks. Yes, that's very beautiful. With music, there is that magic, that beauty, that love. But Ananda, you are a player in the play. Mm-hmm. And yes, you are complaining. Yeah. What I would encourage you to do is to realize that you are the light of being. So in a context where there are deaf people talking with each other, you do not need to be the second or the third deaf person talking in the conversation. Uh-huh. You can be the light of being, which you are. You are that light of being. Yes? So the relationships that maintain the sense of separation and the shallowness will become less and less attractive to you and will naturally fade out of your space. Oh, no. Yes, just the lighting. Oh, the lighting. Okay.
Yeah, the light is hitting the camera so that.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you, Tara. So two points.
Mhm.
First, you bring into relationship your contemplation,
Mhm. Mhm.
and by your presence, because your interest is no longer in argumentation or regurgitation of old beliefs and old knowledge. So
Right.
you bring to the conversation a fresh presence, a freshness, and that goes a long way in a relationship.
Mhm.
It is a silent presence.
Mhm.
It's a listening space, and also within that listening space, there is the wisdom that belongs to the emptiness, that belongs to the void, that belongs to the vastness of being. So that is one thing that I wanted to share with you, because if you're bringing in to the conversation or into the relationship your judgmental mind, oh, how they are,
Mm.
and let's not, I recognize that they are just being like two deaf people, like I remember saying,
Uh-huh.
are not coming freshly to the relationship.
Mhm.
Now, on the other hand, you may, in presence, notice that there is this deaf conversation, this conversation going on between deaf people, and it may not be of interest to you, and you may just leave the room or invite them to hush up and listen to some music. Then you can turn on the nice piece of music, and we can enjoy the music. So that's one point I wanted to make. The second point is that naturally in your life, as your contemplation is moving in the right direction, meaning it is deepening, the old relationship, the old patterns, the old friendships that you had between deaf people who speak with each other, being deaf to each other, will drop away, will naturally drop away.
You mean the actual relationships themselves, or?
Yes, will drop away. So there is a transformation and there is a shedding, naturally. Because you're no longer enjoying these relationships, and they're no longer enjoying you because you're not being one of the people in the you're not playing the game that they are playing. And so what fun are you no longer enjoyable to them, and they're no longer enjoyable to you.
Maybe I'll have something else to ask. I'm going to think about this a little bit. That was very good. Thanks.
So any questions, anyone? Raul. Hello, Raul. Raul, you say hello. It's very unusual and beautiful how you speak about something so close and surprisingly completely non-egoistical. On itself is already the exception. Thank you for that. I can say that I am the on-off switch in a universe of self-reflexiveness. Raul, you can turn off the switch that isolates you. Turn off the switch that refers to you as Raul, as a man, as a father, as a son, as ... You can turn off that switch and turn on the switch of being, universal being, the light of being, awareness, consciousness. That is, it is always on. Consciousness is always on. So, in fact, when you turn off the switch of I am Raul, or I am Magdi, or I am this, or I am that, and I did this and I will do that, and all of, when you turn off this switch, then you will find the switch of awareness is on. Yes? Especially when you already have, like you do have, like I know you do have, a sense and a living sense of consciousness. You will find that when you turn off the switch of I am this man, when you turn off the story, you will find the light of awareness is available to you. And the way you turn off the switch of separation is by noticing it. You can notice the unhappiness. Our destiny is happiness. Our purpose is awakening to our innate happiness. Our true nature is the bliss of the self, Satchitananda. It's our true nature. It is our gift from God, in putting it in religious terms. So, whenever you notice the unhappiness, Raul, at that moment, you have separated yourself from the wholeness. You have separated yourself from consciousness. And you have defined yourself as a separate consciousness, as a male consciousness, or as a female consciousness, or as an intelligence consciousness, or as a stupid consciousness, etc., etc., etc. You will notice that whenever there is unhappiness, there is the thought of separation, of me being a body-mind, and there is a feeling about somebody else or something else, or about myself. That separation is felt in the body mind, as unhappiness. A sage is happy. It's very simple. It's just happy. Happiness is not something we experience here and there. It is what we are. The peace, the freedom, the ease of being, the transparency of being. We don't need to define it. We don't need to label it or categorize it. Why do you need to define or categorize what you are? Simply realize, before you define yourself, you are that freedom. before you categorize yourself or you define somebody else. You are this freedom. Relax into being and not into being somebody. Why do you want to limit yourself to somebody while being is limitless? And we know we are being because we know I am. But we believe that I am means I am a man. Or we believe I am is because the body is born. We believe that I am, the amness, is changing with the body. But these are just silly beliefs. Because amness, we never know it to change. Amness means awareness, beingness. What appears changes. The body changes, the weather changes, thoughts change. The trees, they change, they grow, become bigger. But awareness does not become bigger with the tree. Amness does not become wet when it rains. The grass gets wet. The, if you have clothes hanging outside on the line, they get wet when it rains. But amness, beingness, does not get wet, is not subject to what appears. So knowing yourself as amness, as beingness, as the I am, is your primary knowingness, your main knowingness. And it doesn't need anything else. You don't need the story of the body mind to know yourself. And in knowing yourself is the knowing of peace, the knowing of love, the knowing of beauty. Because the mind is completely open, like the open sky. Raoul, you're right. The main obstacle somehow is what we think about the meanings of the matter and not matter. Yes, Raoul. The matter think healthy. Okay, there is a question that came from somebody who's watching on YouTube. Love what is. I will come to it in just a minute. But your comment about matter role is, not sure about the lighting here. How do we experience matter? It's a good question, because there's no point in denying matter or in believing in matter. We're just going to explore our experience. We all have an experience of matter. So here, like we are together in this meeting, we can ask ourselves, okay, how do I experience matter? So in my experience, I ask myself, how? Say, I experience matter as perception. Like, for example, I perceive a tree, okay? Or I experience matter as I touch a table. I'm touching something. So I experience matter as perception or as sensation, because when I'm touching something, it's a sensation. And I also experience matter as thought. For example, I may be thinking about my car, my beautiful car. So I experience matter also as thought. So my experience of matter, in fact, is experiencing of thought or of perception or of sensation. Yes? If you are following me up to now, I know it's difficult online, if we're sitting together, we can interact much more, but we do what we can with the medium that we have. So we experience matter as thoughts, as perceptions, and as sensations. Oh, thank you, Habibti. We don't experience something out there that has some distant reality that's called matter. We experience matter via our interaction with a perception, a sensation, or a thought. Because the tree, we experience it as a perception, or if we go hug the tree, we're perceiving the tree as a sensation. So that reality that is the tree refers to our experience as awareness of a perception, thoughts of sensation. Without awareness, what would the thought be, or what would the sensation be, or what would a perception or a thought or a sensation be without awareness? So awareness is trying to find a better view. So the experience of matter is through awareness. It is awareness that is the primary experience for any thought, any perceptions, or any sensations. Thank you. So the matter, it's important to understand that the reality of matter is actually belongs to consciousness, that it is the reality of consciousness, via the reality of consciousness, that we perceive a thought, a sensation, or a perception. The thought, the sensation, the perception are constantly changing. But consciousness is changeless. So the distinction between what is real, the clarity about what is real, is an important understanding. That the reality of consciousness is a primordial reality, and the world, body, mind, or matter has no independent reality outside of consciousness. It is via consciousness that it gets its reality. So in a way, you could say that matter borrows its reality as a way of speaking, from the reality of consciousness, from the one reality, because there's only one reality. And matter borrows its reality from consciousness. But to say that is not fully correct, because you may think, oh, well, what Mehdi is saying is that there is matter out there, and that's coming, knocking on the door of consciousness, borrowing some of the reality and becoming real. In fact, it's not that way. The thoughts, perceptions, and sensations, they don't have a reality outside of consciousness so that they can come and borrow it from consciousness. In fact, they are intimate with consciousness. The perception doesn't arise outside of consciousness. It is as if consciousness morphs into a perception. It is as if consciousness morphs into matter. So you could say that matter is consciousness morphing into a form while it remains the formless self. To make a long story short, the belief in an external reality is the root cause, is at the root of our sense of separation. The belief that there is a world out there, an external world out there, and a separate personal self here needs to be looked into really carefully to come to the understanding that in fact it is not so in our experience. We do not experience an external world. We do not experience some matter out there. We're always experiencing consciousness. Raoul, you're right. I mean the physical world. Yes, the idea of out there is still the same idea going on now. Yes, it is very interesting because then by force, the only thing outside is the ego belief. Thank you. Yes, there is, for something to be outside, there has to be something separate. The me is inside and the world is outside. As soon as you separate yourself, meaning as soon as you believe that you are the body, simultaneously, there is the external world. The separate body belief and the outside world belief come hand in hand. When you separate yourself as a man, as a person, as a mortal body mind, then there is the external world. It happens simultaneously. So our perception of an external world is confirmed by our belief and sense that we are this body mind. And as the belief that I'm a body mind is seen to be unreal, that in fact I am consciousness, that there isn't an actual boundary around a body mind, around the reality that I am, as that starts to dissolve, then the world, the external world, returns to the source. Okay, Raul, thank you for your question. Hello, Dolores. Dolores, so you wrote a question on YouTube. You're right. I don't feel that freedom when I meet strangers or with coworkers. So, Dolores, you have something that is given to you, which is this experience of lack of freedom, this contraction when you are with strangers or with coworkers. So it's something for you that you can use, you can utilize that, not only be subject to that, because when you are feeling a sense of isolation when you are with coworkers or with strangers, that is an opportunity for you to work it. Now, let me make a suggestion. When you are with a stranger, you have a certain internal phenomena happening. First, you are perceiving the other as another. You might say, well, of course, Magdi, I'm perceiving the other as another. That's normal. Whether it's normal or not, it doesn't matter. But stop right there and ask yourself, how come I am perceiving another? Ask yourself, am I perceiving another, or am I perceiving my perception? It's an important question. Am I perceiving my perception, or am I perceiving another? In your experience right now, are you not perceiving your perception? If you come to understand that I'm perceiving my perception, and this so-called other is my very self, is myself. How come this other is myself? It's because in this moment, my experience of the other, that experience is at zero distance of myself. It's completely at zero with myself. So the other is not some other, like you are conditioned to believe, or you grew up since you were a little girl learning about the others, watch of others, be careful of others. Your experience is that you're experiencing an intimate experience. Okay, we call it the other. You don't need to call it the other. You're just experiencing yourself. This so-called other is your very self. And when you are with yourself, you're relaxed. You're relaxed. You would be amazed at how powerful it is for you to contemplate that the other is your very self. It's your very experience. This other is myself. Myself as consciousness. Myself as awareness. Myself as mystery, the mystery of being. No mystery of being is higher than another mystery. It's all one mystery. So, in order to feel the peace and to experience the peace with the other, you need to deconstruct all the conditioning that's there for you in that moment. In the moment that you are with the other, you can deconstruct this belief that there is another out there. And you can just be in presence, share presence. There is peace about presence. It disarms you and it disarms the so-called others. It's completely disarming. It is a neutral ground. And your workers, when you are working with your workers, you have a lot of ideas about their history, what they did in the past, and all that stuff. Because we love to talk, we love to accumulate stories. That's how we operate in the world. So when you meet your coworkers, you are meeting a whole story, a whole history, and you're unable to be freshly with some of your coworkers. I'm just speaking generically, okay? I'm not speaking particularly about you, Dolores, because I don't know your actual situation. So we are meeting our coworkers with a whole history rather than meeting freshly. Meaning we are not meeting the other as ourselves, as our innocent presence. So we can experiment. You have to conduct experiments. This is an opportunity given to you to conduct experiments to free yourself from this sense of separation. The purpose in your life is not to have better relationship with others or with your coworkers, but to awaken to the self, to awaken to your innate freedom. And as a result, you will find your relationships with your coworkers and relationship with your family and with strangers to be like a relationship with yourself. I remember I used to go into meetings and I used to have anxiety about, oh my God, what is going to happen? How am I going to conduct myself? And are they going to be judging of me and all of that? Because I perceived myself as separate. Now I go into a meeting, there is nothing that I want. There is nothing that is at stake. It's very important for nothing to be at stake. Because if your happiness is depending on somebody else, then you better you better please them. You better be bowing to them, because your happiness depends on them. But why should your happiness depend on anything or anybody? If it does, then you need to contemplate that. It would make sense if your happiness depends on somebody or on some situation. It would make sense that you would experience anxiety. Because what if the others don't act in the way that is positive towards you? Or what if circumstances do not turn out that you're the one who gets that promotion? Obviously, you're going to feel a lot of anxiety. Now, the question is, can you be free from any condition? I'm not talking about your body, I'm talking about you. You is not the body, you is consciousness. Can you be free and stop placing yourself as a victim of some external world or the victim of some situations? That's a very tricky thing. A lot of us do that. We blame and we accuse and we feel that things are happening in the world to our detriment. Because that's the game we are playing. And of course, then what comes with this game is all the negative emotions. But you can go directly to your freedom and free yourself from all of that. Free yourself from all these conditions about how things should be for you tomorrow, how things should unfold for you in the future, and how people should be towards you, and how life should be towards you. And then, quite surprisingly, you will find that when you free yourself from all these conditions that you place upon yourself, you will find that life becomes sweet and happy. That, like magically, life will become harmonious without you doing any effort, effortlessly, completely effortlessly. That is the magic of consciousness. You take one step towards God, and God takes 10 steps towards you. But if you continue to live with your hopes for your human body, your hopes and your concerns about your human self, then you will remain in that world of worry and concern and hoping and wheeling and dealing and negotiating, and that's full of anxiety. It is full of turbulence. So choose your freedom, not your freedom from anything, not your freedom as a result of anything, your innate freedom. Contemplate that you are this aware presence. You are the formless self. Contemplate the reality of your experience and not all the download about being Dolores and being a daughter, a friend, a teacher, a minister, a dissident. Free yourself from all of that. Just be the shining light of awareness that you are, and you will see the magic. Oh, yes, Dolores, thank you for your question. Holly, I saw your question. One moment, let me see. Or something I saw. Yes. So Holly, you wrote a question on Messenger here, which I am copying, and I'm going to paste it so we can all see it. Okay, Holly. So Holly, you're right. Hi, Magdi. I have a lot of accomplishment conditioning. Accomplishment, yes. So I thought that I get drawn in. So a thought that I get drawn into is, who am I to accomplish the greatest human task of awakening? The thought goes on that only those who are very hardworking and successful might get there. It's a painful thought. Yes, good question, Holly. Thank you. You know, the answer to this question about who am I to accomplish the greatest awakening is very simple. You are that. You are consciousness. You are God's grace. You are the light of being. That's given to you. It's Holly is a download. So in your question, you say, who am I to accomplish this greatest task of awakening? The I in your question is Holly. In other words, you are saying, your question reads, and I'm changing it, who am I, Holly? Who am I, this person? Who am I, this woman? Who am I, this daughter? Who am I, this partner? Who am I, Holly, to accomplish this great human task of awakening? You are mistaking the I, Holly. You are mistaking the I to be Holly, while in fact, the I is awareness. The I is consciousness. So the painful thought is that I am Holly. I am this limited being. I am this person who's trying to accomplish. I am this person that I was brought up to. I have to prove myself. I have to show off. I have to succeed, etc. Whatever. I'm talking generically again, Holly, because I don't know your conditioning. I'm just speaking in general. Maybe I'm speaking about my own conditioning. We all have some conditioning about the human body mind that we have identified with. And so all that is operating. But what trumps all of that is consciousness, is awareness. It trumps all the karma. Karma is like a leaf in the wind. And awareness is the vastness of being, is the infinite sky. So the painful thought, I'm very familiar with it, Holly, is the thought of being a mortal body-mind. Now, this thought, Holly, arises like a cloud. But we believe that this thought that says, I am Holly, we believe that this thought knows us, that it is that thought that that thought is speaking about what I am. But a thought does not know you. The thought that says, I am Holly, doesn't know that which knows it. Yes? The thought is known. The sensation is perceived. The body, meaning sensation, perception, thoughts, feelings, are perceived. You are not what you perceive. When you perceive a car, are you the car? When you perceive a thought, are you the thought? When you perceive a feeling, are you the feeling? So the thought that I am Holly and I need to accomplish blah, 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 that thought and the feeling is not what you are. You are the invisible, formless self. You are beyond that realm of things that are being experienced. Knowingness is beyond the known. The known belongs to knowingness, but knowingness does not belong to the known. The known is just a dream that arises out of knowingness. Think flying elephant, minotaur, flying purple geese, whatever. The known, the perceived, arises out of the formless self, out of the unknown. Form arises out of the formless. And the formless is the eye that perceives. Is the reality of being, the transparency of being. So Holly, come home. Come to your true self. Be your true self. These feelings arise, these thoughts arise that you mentioned. No big deal. So what? You felt a feeling, an unhappy thought, let it be. Go back to your beingness. Don't let little things like that trip you. Some thoughts and emotions trip you. They will arise, but then you will find they will subside less and less and less and less. The more you come to what you truly are, the less you will be drawn by what you are not. The more you settle as awareness, the less you will be drawn into being a woman, a mortal body mind, into being a Holly. And the more you come to the understanding, living understanding that I am the formless self, I am this aware consciousness, this aware presence, the less those negative emotions, those negative thoughts will arise, and the less impact they have on you. And if they may arise here and there, they will not have the impact on you that they used to have in the past. Okay, Holly, I hope that this addresses your question. And take it easy about hard working, yeah? I mean, don't work so hard. Just enjoy a little bit, be playful. I mean, as much as you can. It's okay.
Magdi, can you hear me?
Yes, Ananda.
I had already written a question, which has been a very ongoing issue and question. for, as long as I've been a cogent being, a thinking being, my whole life, that is. But your answers to the last couple of questions, especially to Holly, completely answer it. And yet, this issue about Vaso, in a way, this question is shifting a little bit. I'm gonna pop up the question that I wrote in a minute, but
Okay.
this is the prelude. So it's kind of shifting a little to the issue of vasanas, like residual vasanas, and they're fading away. And I kind of think now I've kind of got the idea that that's that I have to be. I'm in a time thing for these certain vasanas to fade away because they just have been so entrenched. But there's no time more uh, galvanizing than a satsang to realize it can happen right now, in the moment. But so that being said, I will put up my question.
Okay, before I read your question, you need to trust the mystery of being much more than you trust the mind and the process of time and progress and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the infinite invisible self. Trust the light of being. Trust the divine order much more than you trust the human mind.
Mm.
The magic is not the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is beyond the human mind, and it can shine onto the human mind, but it's not sourced at the human mind. It is sourced at the absolute. So time and the whole dimension of time and progress, all of that is at a certain dimension, but there is a dimension that trumps all of that. And that is the eternity of being, that I am, the wholeness of being, the transparency of being. That is beingness, reality. It is isness. Going to a question. There was a childhood story I remember well. A little farm animal, perhaps a duckling, has lost its mother. And the whole story is comprised of the duckling going up to all the motherly barnyard animals, the mother goose, etc. It asks each one it encounters, "Are you my mother? Are you my mother?" This is what I tend to do as I go through life, looking for the warm and nurturing connections.
Now I've at least said it clearly.
Well,
that's the story.
Each one of us has certain vasanas or series of vasanas, and there are some main vasanas and there are some lesser vasanas. And at some point there is an ending. Doesn't need to continue, doesn't need to solve itself or resolve itself in that realm. So the story that you shared with me is a dream. that you don't need to dream.
Mhm.
You don't need any past.
Mhm.
You don't need continuity to everything. Some things seemingly continue in a way. The body
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, slowly is transformed, slowly.
Mhm.
But at the psychological level,
Mhm.
you don't need you don't need the psychology.
Mhm.
You don't need to continue to feel those feelings.
Mhm.
You may say, well, they're happening. It's just happening.
Mhm.
But there is a participation.
Mhm.
There is a collusion. There is a certain sweetness we still feel, that we still feel. There is a certain subtle image, subtle je ne
Mhm.
sais quoi. So that's how it maintains itself. In
Mhm.
subtle ways, maintains itself.
You know, something just occurred to me that when I'm doing the kind of contemplation of letting the body energy expand and letting the, basically letting vasana dissipate, I guess you might say, I realize that I have a focus like, oh, that stuff that got lodged in here, I need to get rid of that. And then the alternative is more like a focus on the spaciousness and the what I am rather than what I'm getting rid of.
Yes,
Because
yes,
I'm keeping it intact, like, well, I'll work on it for a while, but it's, then I'll take it with me, or something.
yes. It is more turning your attention towards the expansion, towards the spaciousness,
An
and
impersonal, an impersonal process.
impersonal. It's an impersonal process, and allowing whatever needs to do whatever it needs to do what it needs to do.
Mm,
So it's not a concern about
hmm
specific result
hmm
or a specific outcome.
mm,
It is just recognizing this expansion and welcoming this expansion in all directions and welcoming everything that is arising to flow with the expansion, not pushing it, not forcing it, not
mm,
trying to get rid of certain vasanas.
hmm hmm
That's very that would be very helpful
Yeah, I get that.
to
I was just thinking, I got to. I could even note the spot on the the time on the timeline to just really go into this. It's beautiful. Not making it a project, but just getting it. Yeah.
and be watchful of the subtle imagery, subtle seduction,
hmm hmm
seduction
hmm
that we do with ourselves and others.
Mm. Could you put that in a little bit more words? I kind of think I get what you're getting at. Kind of like like,
There
let
is,
me assuage myself with this dream issue and work with it and enjoy the
yeah, yes, with also some subtle image of ourselves. Um, Seductive image. Even the little duckling that is looking for mother,
yes.
something seductive about that.
Right. Mother, lover, combination of the two. You know, it it could be the matter of a novel, in the search.
Love is, we celebrate love. We don't seek it. We don't
Mm, mm,
look for it.
mm,
We don't look to give it, to share it, to no. It shares itself. It shines of its own. Love shines in our absence,
mm,
as our absence,
mm,
not as the seductive self, not as
mm,
a seducer seduced. That's a different dimension, different conversation altogether.
mm,
Love is the
mm,
fullness self in
mm,
relationship. Is love. Love is
mm,
has no direction, has no object or subject.
mm,
It
mm,
celebrates itself in all forms when it's impersonal. Then it celebrates itself in relationship, but it's very different from our ideas, our conditioned ideas about A loves B and B loves B back and blah blah.
mm, mm, mm,
It's it's a it's a celebration of our absence and our presence as
mm,
God's light, as the light of being.
mm,
You always, as much as you can,
mm,
take whatever arises for you, take it to the highest level.
mhm, mhm,
Live whatever arises for you by taking it as much as possible to the highest level.
mhm, mhm,
So, love,
mhm,
take love to take it to the highest level. Love is the love of God, the love of truth,
mhm,
universal love. That would be taking love to the highest level,
mhm,
sort of as if consciously, taking love is universal love. Love is celebration of everything and everyone. It's not mine. Towards
mm,
towards him, towards her, towards, it's not like
mhm,
I take it to the highest level.
mhm, mhm.
Yes?
Because as you were saying that, I get the imagination is, there's a couple things. There's wanting to give and nurture something. There's wanting to give love. There's wanting to receive love, and then it seems like in my common mind, you might say, the higher picture is a love that's shared. So it's love is very present, in a sharing and not. But then you're saying another level where it's not a matter of a subject object interaction at all.
So let's say, for example,
That's
the thought arises love that's shared. So I take it
yes.
to a higher level. The life that's shared with everyone and
Mhm.
everything. So yes,
Right.
love is shared, yes. But now love that's shared with everyone and everything. I don't know how it manifests. I have no idea. Then just take it to the highest level. So whatever arises for you as an idea about, we're talking about love now, see how you can take that very, without altering it, just taking it to the highest level. So it's sharing with everyone and everybody and everything. This does not mean orgies, Okay,
Mm.
we've already done that. We've known the disaster that we've known the ups and downs of that, or whatever.
Mm.
I'm talking about, so love. We say, what's the highest form of love?
Mm.
Spiritual love, love of the spirit, love that is limitless,
Mm.
because bodies are limited.
Right.
Bodies are limited. So yes. So celebration of love in the body. So I celebrate in the body universal love.
Mm.
Anyways, just
Yeah, I
I
did.
think last satsang I also mentioned, and may mention it again. There is a sadhana, there is a practice, a spiritual practice where you take whatever arises for you to your highest understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Try to live whatever is arising for you. You try to live it to your highest understanding. The highest
Mm-hmm.
understanding is the understanding of universal consciousness. And the lowest understanding is the understanding that it's me, mine, my money, my thing, my car, my house, my country, my religion, my God, my nation, my army, my freaking blah, blah, blah. And you better watch out, because, you come here and you're going to see what that's the lowest. That's the, I
Take
want
it to the lowest. Yeah.
to spend my, right? I mean, we all,
Right.
I think we're all
Yeah. No.
sure here, we know that. So we need to live as much as we can to our highest understanding. So it rubs onto us, rubs
Rubs off on us, onto us.
off to you, and you will find, yes, it works this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is magic. I don't mean magic like a magician. There is the magic of consciousness, the magic of
Mm-hmm.
gravity, the magic of galaxies
Mm-hmm.
floating in space, and the magic of breath, the magic of perception, the magic of awareness.
Mm-hmm. It occurs to me the magic of wall-to-wall grace, no lack of it.
Yes,
Like that.
absolutely. Beautiful. Wall-to-wall grace.
Mm. Well, very nice.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. If there is any other question? Zoe. Oh, it's Zoe. I just saw something here, Zoe. Let me see if I could. See. Let me see. How do I go here? Okay. Boom. So Zoe. See if I can. Okay, hello Zoe. Okay, so Zoe, you're right. Thank you for your comments. Sitting with you is like light bulbs going off inside. So much you said just seemed to come through in a deeper way. Everything arises out of me and is made out of me and dissolves into me. Everything is beautiful. Yes, it's very beautiful. All the sensations that are labeled emotions, all the apparent separate forms, etc., are arising out of me, the freedom of being. There is no mystery that is higher than another mystery. Yes, yes. Also, I have a friend going through a turbulent time who asked for some help with meditation tips. She's having trouble sleeping, focusing, etc. Any suggestions? It is difficult for me, Zoe, to give suggestion to your friend just by reading just those few words that you wrote, because I do not know um, her or his let's see, availability and degree of understanding that would come if I was interacting with this person. But having said that, there are some generic comments I can make that may be obvious to you, of course. given what you wrote already above. Um, so when somebody is going through turbulent time, you don't want to try to save them. You don't want to deprive them from their turbulence. But you can be a friend. You can be with them. You can accompany them as much as possible for you, given, of course, your limitations in your life, to be available to them uh, and be present to them. When you are present in presence, you are not turbulent. You are at peace. Presence is peace. So you are with them in a listening way, in an open way, and to the extent that is possible, you could share with them the that turbulence is just helps to release some of the inner resistances that we have, that are unseen, that we're holding on to. There are some situations that happen in our life that are aimed to trigger us, so that we have an opportunity to see some things about ourselves, and also to realize that irrespective of all what is happening, irrespective of the turbulence, all is well. And we can, through the turbulence, get to see places where we are hold on to things, places where we are attached to things, places where we are resisting, that we may not have perceived before, we may have taken for granted. And also, we may see in the turbulence that we had limited ourselves in our attachments, in our resistances, and the turbulence can open new doors for us, as maybe not during the turbulence itself, but as a result of the turbulence, as an after effect of the turbulence, there might be uh, a new sense of freedom and new horizons and new energies that become available to us. I mean, I'm saying all these things, but I don't know to what extent I'm talking with you, but I'm not talking with your friend. I don't know to what extent it's possible for your friend to hear these things and to be open to these things. So I would say just be a loving friend with them, um, and it's not about comforting them, because comforting them is just at the emotional level. It's it's not about comforting them. Of course, there can be some comfort as well, but it's not about that. There may be a gift in some of the difficulties we experience. We may not understand. We may never get to understand the gift that is being offered to us via these difficult times. But we don't need to understand. The gift is received. Even if we don't understand it, we may find after the fact certain revelations, a certain peace, a certain freedom, a certain expansion that we can't understand, but we can enjoy and celebrate and appreciate. So don't be concerned about your friend, because if you're concerned, then you're going to bring into her space or his space, you're going to bring your concern. It's going to be there. it's okay. It's all okay. It really, in the end, really doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is awakening to the self. Yes, Zoe, you're right. Beautiful. This is very helpful. Thank you. And awakening to the self is in God's hands. And it everything that is occurring in our life, in our experience, is part of God's play. And the pain that we suffer in our life is the pain of separation. I'm concerned about what's happening to me. I want him, I want her to be like this, to be like that, to act in this way towards me. I don't want to lose dear ones. I don't want anybody in my family to die. I don't want my cat, anything to happen to my cat, to my dog, to my pet. All of that is at that realm that is complete vulnerability. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Magdi. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Hello. I'm
I'm
sorry.
just, it's Leanne. I'm just trying to get your
Oh,
picture. There we go. Hi.
yeah. Hello.
Oh, wow. It's so good to be here. I've tried a
Yes.
few times and it hasn't happened.
Okay.
Um,
Lovely.
no, but we're here. It's all good. I
Yeah.
was listening to what you were saying, and it's my experience in terms of triggers, reactions, turbulence, whatever one wants to call it. Christmas, wonderful time, lots and lots. And at the time of that kind of energy field, sometimes it's not quite so um, easy to, there's like a panic button that goes off and a sense of this shouldn't be happening. Uh, for me, thoughts of shame and guilt and lots of other conditioning that's been experienced in this lifetime. But once we're kind of through the sand, it was like a sandstorm, and once the sandstorm is sort of eased and it's settling, there's lots of intuitive insights. They're not like mental insights, like this happened, so that happened. It's more of an intuitive revelations that come about
Yes.
the kind of attachments and thinking patterns. Um, I had a thing with my son's father, and then I realized I was really attached to the income that was coming, and and this thing behavior was around appeasing that so that wasn't taken away, and how that kind of caged felt like a caged behavior, caged thinking, and restriction.
Mhm.
Now, I can't express it really, but what I'm saying is I restricted, the energy field was restricted to try and control the outcome.
Mhm.
And that situation, which was there was a high triggering actually, brought that revelation to light, that actually I was very attached to the outcome, his income, the reliance upon it,
Yes.
and all these things. So at the time, it didn't feel like a blessing. To
Yeah.
be honest, it was uh, a lot of emotion, a lot of negative thinking came up, ego triggers of vengeful thinking, hateful thinking, lower energies
Mm.
arising.
Mhm.
Um, and all I can say now is, having had some space to sit with it, to contemplate it, a lot of things have become very clear, um, which were pretty unconscious before. I wasn't actually aware of that at all. I was kind of doing this people pleasing thing because I wanted it to be that way. Um, so when you were saying something frees up, something has freed up from that experience and perhaps reflecting on it. Now, sometimes these energy fields come up and there isn't an obvious trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the body just reacts and goes into kind of a constriction and everything. There's not an obvious thought. So can you talk about that? You know, when there's these reactive things going on, constrictions and everything else, and there's not an obvious trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very obvious trigger, but when there's not an obvious thinking process that one is aware of, consciously aware of,
Mm-hmm.
can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
Would that be okay?
Sure. But before I do, just want to share with you that the great revelation that has just kept dawning, in my life, that everything that comes to me, this understanding, this living experiential understanding that everything is God-given, that everything that has come to me and is coming to me and is coming in abundance is not coming from any human. Maybe coming via humans, but it's not coming from the human. That there is a greater power that is orchestrating the show. And the old belief that my income is coming from my clients, that I need to do this and that in order to get such and such results. All of that old paradigm just dissolved. And what has replaced it is just unimaginable abundance, a flow and a recognition, like a deep recognition, beyond any doubt, that it comes from beyond. It may come through the human dance, but it's coming from beyond. And so this recognition is an important recognition, because as long as you recognize that your life depends on person A, person B, person C, or whatever, that your happiness, your joy, your freedom, your celebration depends on some other forms and not on the form itself, it's totally different game. You're living the concerns, the personal concerns, and you're negotiating, trying to find the best image, the best song, the best facade you can portray, the best dance you can dance in order to person A, person B, or person C to clap at you and say, hey, I love you, here it is.
Yeah.
You follow?
Yeah, can relate. Yep.
Yes.
I'm hearing,
Yes.
I hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Open yourself up to that. Contemplate that everything that is occurring in this waking dream, there is a magic to it, which is, in religious terms, we say God's magic. In other terms, we say it's a consciousness, a cosmic order. There is a cosmic order that as you turn your attention to that, as you recognize that, it recognizes itself through you. It just, through you become that recognition, and you become that celebration, and you become that, as opposed to being this separate self living in a world, a human world that's negotiating the human relationships and human dimensions. Just wanted to share that with you as a topic for you to sort of open yourself in that direction and see how it will shine in your space, in your life. Concerning being triggered without any seeming particular recognizable events or any external events triggering us. There is within our psychic realm this latent veil of ignorance, which is the veil of identification. There is a condition that is the sense of self. We, irrespective of being triggered by anything or anybody, we are experiencing a sense of self that we got habituated to, that we do not notice anymore. It's as if there is, when you put on like pink glasses, pink lenses, the whole world is pink. Everything you perceive is pink, but you don't know pink because you never take off these glasses. So if somebody's tell you, well, you're perceiving pink, you won't understand what they're saying because that's your condition. And this sense of self is like a moving. It's not the piece of being. It's a certain. It has a certain disturbance to it, but not a dramatic emotion. It's made out of feelings. You know, I'm feeling that I'm sitting in this chair. I'm feeling that I'm moving. I'm feeling that, okay, things are okay, but there is a but. You know, yeah, my life is okay, but there is a but. And that's the malaise of the sense of self. Now, if you're experiencing a sudden uncaused emotion, it's just that you are not aware of what caused it. And a feeling doesn't arise as an emotion without something triggering it. Now, I'm going to share with you an example that I had, years ago. I was in a group. It was a dialogue group, talking about, 20 years ago or so. And it's a dialogue group that I used to attend every month. And I remember this one time, it was like maybe 15, 20 people or so. This one time I went, to this group, and we had a little tea, then we sat together in the group. And as I sat in the group, I started feeling some upsetness, like a noticeable upsetness, annoyance. I mean, really annoyed. I could barely stay in my seat. And as the dialogue group was going on, I kept wondering, what is going on? And I felt it was coming from a certain direction towards the right of me. And I eventually, soon enough, realized that it's this one person. There was this one lady that I had never met before. I had not had any conversation with her. There was no reason. She hadn't done anything to annoy me, but she was really, really annoying me. And I was wondering, what was that about? And in a flash, I had a flash of being with my aunt from as a young boy, where this person was actually my aunt, and I had some past upsetness. And when I realized that this person was representing my aunt and this past memory, the whole upsetness dissolved like that. It was gone in a fraction of a second. And I was back into the peace. I'm sharing this with you to sort of, it just arose as a memory, to a trigger was there in the room that I wasn't even aware of. There was some resemblance to my aunt, and I wasn't even aware of it, but it was there in my space. The point that I'm making is that you will not experience an emotion without some sort of trigger. The trigger may be very subtle, unnoticed trigger, or it may be an internal thought, or it would be, and if there isn't an external trigger, it would be an internal trigger.
Mm.
Or it would be an external trigger that is not loud, that is very subtle. But what I would like to share with you more than that is that it does not matter for us to understand how do we get triggered. What is it that triggers us? How come we're experiencing negative emotions? And the specific, the specific philosophy of negative emotions. It is sufficient to understand that whenever we separate ourselves, whenever we reduce ourselves to being a person, to being a woman, to being a mother, to being a daughter, to being a body-mind, there is a contraction in the field. And this contraction in the field will live itself in our waking dream in many, 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 many ways.
Mm.
And will continue to live itself in our waking state. Monica, I'll look at that in a minute. So the core understanding that where you need to bring your attention is onto this belief that you're a human and that there is such a thing as a human salvation. There is no human salvation. There is awakening from the human, but there is no salvation for the human. The human realm is a realm that has separated itself from God. And to hope that the human realm will reach God is erroneous. The human realm can dissolve in the revelation of our reality, but the human realm does not participate in awakening, in the truth. The human realm dies into the truth, dissolves into the truth. Often in our culture, in our realm, we are concerned about the human, about improving the human, about fixing our psychology, fixing our emotions, fixing our relationships, which has its purpose, but it's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about awakening to truth. And to awaken to truth, you cannot be a human. You need to realize what you truly are. What you truly are has no gender. Gender belongs to the body. Gender belongs to the body-mind. It does not belong to the self. It does not belong to truth. It does not belong to what you truly are. What you truly are is consciousness. What you truly are is the formless self, is transparent beingness, transparent being, the reality of being. That is your true self. Go to that. Go to that and free yourself from the entire human realm. The human realm cannot compete with God's reality, cannot compete with your love for truth. Your love for truth is the light out of the tunnel. The core contemplation is the contemplation of what am I truly? Am I that appears? And the body appears, thoughts appear, sensation appear. Am I that appears? Perceptions appear. Am I that appears? Or am I that to which all appearances appear? And out of which appearances appear, and as which appearances appear, and to which appearances return. You follow my question?
I do. I do.
Yes.
It just feels like I hear you, but I don't. Like on a deep, I
Yes.
hear you, but I don't hear you. If you know what I mean.
It's okay. Yes. Yes.
I can't pretend to say that that's
yes.
how I experience it right now, because it's not.
That's fine. That's fine, because there is a hearing that bypasses the mind. So it's okay. You know, I got you. I got you. The understanding is not at the mind level. The mind is a second hand, comes afterwards and says, oh, I understood or I didn't understand. There is an understanding, there is a direct understanding which has no mind in it. So I'm just going to repeat just briefly that awakening to what you truly are is the core and the only meaning and purpose in our life. It's not about improving ourselves. Improving ourselves, the human realm, is a consequence. It's a consequence. It's a lovely consequence of our correct contemplation. If we are contemplating improving ourselves, we're in trouble. But if we are contemplating the truth, what is our true nature, what is the reality of consciousness, then the consequence would be a happy life, a happy dream, a happier body, happier relationships. It's a consequence. We have a tendency to focus on fixing the world, body, mind. We believe that that's how, and we've been doing that for a long time, hundreds, if not thousands of years. Without success, we're still getting more and more into a mess, into the world, body, mind. The salvation at the human realm is in the awakening to grace, awakening to your true nature. So I think that's good enough for now. I'm happy to meet you here. And thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's double check. I thought I saw. Let me see. Was that? Okay. I thought I saw. Okay. Just a double check. Okay, I thought there was a question that you sent me, Monica, but I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it anywhere. So could be that was just a flash that I had. Okay, well, I thank you all for your lovely company, for your love, for your friendship, and for your love for truth. And so we'll schedule the next meeting on Thursday. And a couple of things I forgot to mention. There is a retreat in Costa Rica. I think it is March. I believe it's March 2 to March the 5th in Costa Rica, and it is the cost is $450, which includes housing and and meals, vegetarian meals. If you are welcome to attend. If you have any questions, you can send me, express your interest, and Tara and I and Jenny and a couple of other people will help you out with that. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, man. Hello.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you.